Well, please forgive me for that interruption. It actually wasn't deliberate. I didn't stop the camera because of the ambulance. It was the battery, the memory card was full. So there wasn't any swear word. Actually, there was one or two swear words there, but you'll probably find they've been edited out. So what I was talking about was the situation here. I'm not a great believer in trying to dress things up to be what they aren't. So, spirituality for me and mysticism is not about trying to be superhuman. It's just allowing all the different parts of the human experience to express themselves. So you don't have to be like Jesus Christ or the Buddha. If you want to follow the Christian tradition or the Buddhist tradition, I don't have a problem with that, but it's not quite what I teach. It's not what I live. I find a lot of teachers in the New Age movement in particular, try to be too perfect, or try to pretend that they have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I don't even have all the answers to my own life. One thing I like to teach is mindfulness, where we allow ourselves to become fully present. And mindfulness is not about having all the answers. It's actually just about learning to be at peace and to accept the fact that there's a state of not knowing which is very powerful. I don't know what the next step is. Spiritual intuition, or what I call integrated intelligence, is a bit like headlights in a car illuminating a dark road. You can really only see 50 or 100 metres ahead of you. That's about it. And what lies beyond that you don't know. And that's all I'm saying with what's happening with me. I get a lot of guidance in spiritual visions, intuitions and feelings, as you can find out in many of my books. But they don't give me all the answers. They just give me a sense of where to go and how to feel my way forward. So that's all I'm teaching here. So what else was I going to talk about in this one? Yes, I basically have no idea what was going to happen. I did have no idea what was going to happen when I came back to Australia. A couple of things have happened to make things a little bit clearer. I've attended this conference in Perth here, and I gave a presentation called Mind, Cities and the Futures of Future Studies. And that was about how future studies practitioners, that means futurists, can employ integrated intelligence to create meaningful futures, or what I call deep futures. And that was well received. It was a small audience though, only 15 or 20 people, but I did make some good connections when I was there, including someone who's invited me to talk to him about working at a university in Melbourne. Maybe I'll say a bit more about that later on. So that's something that's good. And my talk was also well received. The people who were there, many of the people who were there quite liked it, and the feedback I got was really good. So that was something very positive for me. And, okay. I'm going to talk now about some of the issues that have occurred for me over this time, because as I outline in my book Discover Your Soul Template, as you move through your life and you have challenging situations, as I'm going through right now, what will tend to happen is that latent parts of the mind or the psyche will start to bubble up, embedded in self-limiting fears and doubts will start to emerge. It's almost inevitable. This is what I call opposing forces, there's an opposition aspect to it, which I'll explain to you in a moment. This is really important for people who want to do a mystical journey. They want to be really honest about what they're doing. You really need to know this stuff. There are two dreams that I've had, two quite profound dreams, which raised important issues for me. I'm going to quickly go through those and tell you what significance they had for me. And the first dream, I found myself in like a bathhouse, an old bathhouse, inside a big stone room. There was a big kind of pool there, which had like mist all over it, like cloudy water. There were some people in the pool. It was a warm pool, and my teacher, Leonard Jacobson, who teaches presence, was in the pool, and he was inviting people to come in. And I was coming into the room, and I had to decide whether I would go into the pool or stay out. And on the outside of the pool, there was a group of people sitting down, but they were facing away from the pool. So they'd made some decision within themselves not to go into the pool. And this pool actually represents my understanding of the dream, my interpretation of the dream, is that the pool represented Leonard's kind of teaching, deepening into presence, deepening into spirit. So what happened in the dream? Which way did I go? Into the pool or with the people who were looking away? Well, actually I went into the pool in this dream, which I'm very happy for, because it represents the fact that I am willing at some level to deepen a bit further. Because I also have issues with allowing myself to let go and to face my demons, or to face the issues within myself, the resistance of the ego to deepening into presence. So I got into the pool, and when I got into the pool, what happened was I fell backwards, and as my head went into the water, suddenly this light exploded from the back of my head, and I found myself experiencing a classic non-dual experience. So my sense of self started to expand out into the universe. And I just let go. I let myself be taken out. It felt like I was being taken, expanding, almost taken out of the body. And I don't think that was literally happening. There were some other very strange things that happened during that enlightenment experience, if you want to call it that, within the dream. For some reason I was taken to another world, like a primeval world, where life was beginning. And I was shown something about the beginnings of life on Earth, but it was all rather confusing, to be honest. Though it was very exhilarating. And then I woke up. So that dream for me is significant, because, as I mentioned, it shows that there's a need to deepen into spirit for me during this time. So I need to live and walk the talk. Now the second dream I had was not quite so nice. So if you don't like scary things, I wouldn't listen to this dream, because it was a rather scary dream, and it reflects another issue that I've been facing at this time. Now, as I mentioned, as you move forward in your life, as you try to move and embody something, such as a deepening into spirit, which is what that first dream was telling me, or inviting me to do, quite often an opposing force will come forward, which reflects issues within your soul, and you have to face those issues in order to move into that deepening process. Sometimes they'll involve an opposing energy, which is actually the consciousness projections of other people. And these other people may be family members or loved ones, or even energies from past lives, or discarnate energies. So this is the less pleasant aspect of spiritual development, which a lot of spiritual teachers don't go into, because it is a bit scary. But this is part of the teaching that I do, so it's what I'm teaching right now. And you'll hear more of this from me during this diary project. So what happened in this dream? Well, I entered. It was set in a kind of, I believe it was probably a setting that was like 17th, 16th century, maybe 18th century at the latest. It felt like an old time, and the colours around were orange and brown, very stony. It felt like it was in a desert region or a dry region. Certainly there were stone brick buildings around, and I found myself in a room, again in a room, a stone room, and it was enclosed. It was a bit dingy and dark, and in the middle of this room there was a swimming pool, and the swimming pool was just like a cement swimming pool that was in the back of my father's and mother's house when I was a little boy, and it was often empty. And in this dream the pool was also empty, so it just had. Actually, what was inside the pool was rather shocking. There was some dirt in there, and some of it was uncovered, and there were two small coffins in the dirt. Now, before I mention those coffins, I knew that there were two other people in the room with me at the time, and I wasn't quite sure who they were, but there was some information about those people, that one of them was like a sexual offender. That's what I knew. He was like a pedophile or something like that. So this is all rather dark stuff to do with sexual energy. Now, these two coffins that I saw in the pool, they actually didn't have a lid, but they were covered in like a cellophane, so I could actually see down into the coffins through the cellophane plastic on top to see who was in the coffin. And in the coffin were two small children, I would say about 5 years old. One was a boy and one was a girl. And the girl's face in particular I saw. And her face was just full of horror. That's all I can describe it. Her eyes were closed, but all red and lined around the outside. And I knew she'd been murdered. and probably raped as well. And I knew that the boy had also been murdered or raped. And in the dream, my attention focused on the girl's face, and the horror and the pain and the suffering that was in her face. It was horrific. So it was quite frightening. For some reason, and I don't know why this was, I found myself in the next part of the dream pulling out like a container full of, which contained the flesh of the girl. And as I pulled it out, I gave it to the woman who was in the room, and she started to eat his flesh. And I was horrified by what was going on. So I ran away to the corner of the room, and these two people followed me. And this woman, she was almost as tall as me. She was very tall and powerful. Her face contained 3 archetypes, 2 of which I can remember. The Darth Vader archetype, because her face was black, and at one moment it was like Darth Vader, like a female Darth Vader. And then it was also like a female Hannibal Lecter, that hockey mask kind of thing that he wore in the movie Silence of the Lambs. There was a third archetype there, but I can't remember what it was. But I know this was rather dark archetype. So this woman was not a nice woman or a nice energy. And the man that was beside me, who I couldn't see, I knew that it was the same man with all these sexual issues going on. And what happened then? Well, the woman actually started to kiss me. She pulled me in and she started to kiss me, and I was resisting, but part of me actually wanted to kiss her. So I was repulsed by her in the darkness, but I was also intrigued. And then I don't know if I should describe this in detail, but the next part of the dream was quite sexual. She actually started to give me oral sex, and she started to draw energy out of my body through the sexual organs. And when that happened, the dream stopped, because there was competing forces here, wanting to go into her energy because of the sexual attraction, but also being repulsed because I knew it was extremely dark energy. This dream represents what I think Stanislav Grof would call a coex, a pattern or recurring theme of energy that occurs in my energy field, where I give my power away to a dark woman who controls and possesses me. I've seen this before quite a few times in my life, and it's recurring again. It's not really a nice thing to confront, as you can imagine, because at the same time that this dream has been occurring, that this dream occurred, I've been suffering from an extreme loss of energy, like being extremely tired during the day. So actually, this woman, this energy, it represents a real energy from actually a real physical woman. And I've got an idea who it is, but I'm not going to go into that because I'm not going to mention personal names here. In fact, the personal aspect of it doesn't really matter. It just represents an energy pattern which I have to deal with at this time in order to move into a deepening of spirit. So it's not a nice situation for me. Actually, a lot of chronic fatigue syndrome is actually due to the way people give their power away to other people. I'm not saying all chronic fatigue syndrome is like that, but a lot is. So that's an issue that I'm facing, and it's not really a very nice one, but these issues that we all have within ourselves, you may not have the same as me, you don't have the same as me, you're a unique individual, but they will surface in your life according to the will of spirit, as I would say. It's like an iceberg that melts, and you process these energies as they come up, as they surface. So judging them as wrong or bad is not the way to go about it. It's to allow yourself to relax into whatever the energy is in that pattern, and to come to an understanding of the story of it. Because it is a story, after all. It's a story that the soul is embedded within. I believe that they reflect past life stories as well. They may link into ancestors' energies which we're born into when we're young. But we have to address these. That is how the spirit grows and learns. So no matter how dark or horrible it may seem at the time, there is actually an energy there. So God does have a plan for us in a sense, but it's even a kind of karma. But I don't believe karma is punishment. Karma is just an attempt by the soul to resolve its energies, its blocked energies, its false beliefs, its self-limiting belief structures. And that's what this story is for me. So that's what I believe karma to be. And we all have energy patterns within our energy fields, and we have to resolve them. That's what we're here for. It just takes most people a long, long time because they don't have the awareness to see what these patterns are. That's why I try to teach people about integrated intelligence and coming to a deeper understanding of these patterns. So that's something I'll be working on. So there's other energy patterns which are coming up for me at this time as well, which I won't go into. I won't bore you with them all. But they just relate to things that happened in my past lives. So perhaps past lives, yes, and also my biographical life is Marcus T. Anthony and Mark Gregory, which is who I was known as before I changed my name to Marcus T. Anthony. They have to do with trusting the universe, a sense of being a victim, the idea that the world isn't fair. These are recurring self-limiting belief structures which exist in my psyche. And again, it's not about judging them as being wrong or bad, it's just about bringing them into consciousness and loving those parts, loving the wounded child, and allowing it just to journey along with us, like taking along a lost child with us on our journey. But in order to take that child with us, we have to own fully what's in there, including whatever pain that may be lingering in the psyche. So what am I going to do next? Well, I'm actually going to be going to a little town called Esperance in the southwest, Western Australia. It's actually a 12-hour bus journey from here. I've got 5 days on my hands, and I was thinking about where to go. And to be honest, though, I wasn't quite sure where to go and what to do next here. So I just used the normal processes that I do when I'm trying to work my way forward. When I awoke this morning, the word Esperance came into my mind. And it was one of the towns I was looking at yesterday on the map. And then I checked the energy on going there by using what I call a quick check, which is a kind of an energy reading, to check whether it feels right to go there. And there's good energy on it. And it's a long way, though. I have to say I resisted that one a bit, but I'm going to go there anyway. So I'm getting on a bus tomorrow morning at about 8 o'clock, and I'll be on my way to Esperance. Well, we'll see what happens there, because I really don't know that much about the place. One of the things that worried me about going there, to be honest, was the expense. I've got to pay for the bus. I'm going to have to pay for 4 nights accommodation there. I don't have because of the fact that I don't have an income source at the moment, or not too much of an income source besides some spiritual counselling and a few book sales and things. I have to be very careful with my budget. But when I lay down to rest today, a song suddenly came into my head by Midnight Oil. It's Blue Sky Mining. And one of the lines goes something like, there'll be pay in your pocket tonight. That's the line I heard. And that was the Spirit telling me that the money's going to come from somewhere. I'm not exactly poor. I mean, I do have a few $1,000s in savings, but I need to be a little careful with my budget. So that was the concern. But my Spirit is giving me the go-ahead, so that's where I'm heading off to. And I want to tell you one last thing before I leave, because this was quite meaningful to me. I woke up 2 days ago and there was a song playing in my head, and again, this is where I get a lot of my spiritual guidance, through the songs that come into my head. An Aboriginal woman once told me to listen to these songs, and I have done it so ever since, and I learned a lot from them. This song, I don't even know the name of the singer of this song, but the words from the song were, don't worry now, God's got a plan for you. So from that I took on the meaning is to relax and just enjoy the experience. Life doesn't have to be, it's not always joyful, it's not always, the things, both light and darkness will come forward, as what I tried to explain. And the thing is not to resist them, If there's some darkness there for you to explore, then explore it. Don't judge it as bad. Just go with the flow. Maybe you need to move into that energy for a little while in order for your spirit to grow. And it's very, very important, though, I think, to have fun and to enjoy life and to relax. So that ends my first entry for the Diary of a Mystic, the 21st Century Mystic. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been quite a long session or video. Hopefully my next videos won't be quite so long. And I look forward to seeing you again. Bye for now.